Now, you mentioned Hi Friend, and it was just recently listed by a handful of people, actually, a couple different charts in the top 20 of deadmau5 tracks all along. Do you want to speak a little bit to that and the charting and what that's meant to you and how that song has fit into your career?
Well, I've been very blessed that I've had on digital download sites, TrackSource, Juno, Beatport. I've been very blessed to actually be able to say that I've had over 70 charting records, and I've hit number one on multiple genres, which is a blessing on all the sites. Hi Friend was an amazing experience. Joel gave me a call. This was in the summer of 2008, going into 2009. And I remember I was at home and I was on a hot streak. I had done Get Blasted, which went to number one on Beatport with Hatiris. I had done Just the Tip, which had gone to number one. The Rub Down, which went to number one on Beatport. Like I remember when I met Laid Back Luke at ADE 2009, and this is a true story. When I met him, the first thing he said is, he goes, Flipside. So you're the Beatport killer, always going to the top 10 and number one. And I was like laughing because I knew who he was. This is an iconic kung fu master / he used to be one of my favorite techno producers, still one of my favorite people on earth, such a gentleman. And he's showing me that kind of respect. And I also had a top 10 with Barbimore, who was on fire at the time with Diplo, etc., on Tool Room. So It Goes, if you remember that one. It's hard to believe this is how we roll, a day in the life. So it goes. Anyways, so Joel calls me and he goes, hey, you around? Wanna let's come over, work on a track, but like no stupid raps, okay? You know how he speaks. He's like very specific. I'm like, relax, dude. I'm not gonna say anything dumb, man. He's like, well, cool, because I want to work with you. So that's him being really nice. I love the guy, but he cracks me up the way he communicates. So I'm like, all right, cool. He's very dry, witty. Thing is, Joel wouldn't have called me. He has tremendous respect. So the fact that he picked up the phone and was like, dude, you're the guy. So I get over there. He plays me Hi Friend. I've heard Joanne play it at the time, his ex-girlfriend, Sydney Blue. And I was like, wow, I know the beat. This is fucking sick. So he starts playing it, and I hear it, da-na-na-na, 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 da-na-na-na. So I'm like, cool. So he plays me an excerpt from Pete Tong doing a bootleg with Jump and Shout on top of it by Basement Jaxx. So Joel was like, it's kind of cool that he put a vocal on it, but when I heard it, I was like, I want something different. And he goes, you're the first person that came to my mind. Now, I was flattered because people blow that motherfucker up all day long. He goes, but I hear your voice on this. Now, Joel's got a tremendous ear. So I'm like, okay. He goes, I just hear your voice on this, but I want you to use your more smooth, deeper tone. I'm like, okay. And then he goes, I have one rule. Don't say your name or my name in the song. I'm like, okay. And don't rap about yourself. He's like, sometimes it works, and he knew what he was saying. He goes, on the Rub Down, he goes, it works and it sounds dope because it's the type of beat that it is. So you got to come with that kind of, because Joel's a hip hop head as well, so he can communicate, and I understood. He's like, on that kind of rap, you need to be about yourself and have that egotistical, conceited, but confident flow that you need in rap to sell the character, or else it sounds like shit. Because Joel really loves good hip hop, man. He loves De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest. So he didn't mean it in a bad way. He meant you need to come with it on those records. But on this, I need you to make it be about the vibe, about the people. So I'm like, okay, that's all you got to say. He's like, I'm not going to tell you what to say. That's your domain. You need to rap it. You need to arrange it. You need to put it together. And then it's a pure collaboration. That's the respect that he had. Not like some producers that are like, oh, do it like this. Oh, do it like that. Oh, do it. It's like, so no, then don't fucking ask me to do it, dude. Get somebody else, because you're just using my voice, but it's just your song. When I do my collabs, just so that people know, I am very shrewd, and I will not do it if I don't get my control. So Joel, Let me have my control and do my 50%. I'm there. We're sitting down. It just hits me. Are you receiving? Can you feel me? And I say it to him and he goes, yeah. I like that. Stick there. So, an hour goes by. I get the verse done. So I get to the part, all systems go out on the floor. This is what you came here for. Hi, friend. And Joel was like, yep, incredible. He sends it to his manager. Oh, it's brilliant. And then we send it to Beatport at the time, a guy that was working there, and he's like, wow. We knew then and there we were onto something. And I took the record home. Joel was like, okay, finish the rest at home. I trust you. He gives me the mic. He goes, take the mic with you so the quality's the same. I work on it, come up with verse 2. Now your mind is open, your thoughts are flying to the bounce that's amplifying, taking form as you're complying. Grab the notion, carry on replying. And he was like, dude. He calls me. He's like, wow. So anyone that knows Joel, like, when credit is due, believe me, you'll see a different side of him, because he's the kind of person that if you can't bring the heat, and if you are someone who talks a lot but can't back it up, he won't respect you. You need to have the skills to back it up, and you'll be on the level with him, which I think actually more human beings need to be, regardless of whatever they do in life. I'm just tired of people who oversell and underdeliver, which is why Joel is the way he is. It's not because he's trying to be difficult. It's like you're a referee, Barry, in your other life, and we've talked about soccer tactics all the time, and they apply to music. If you can't convey your ideas as a coach, it's not just about how good the players are on your squad. Sometimes squads with so-so players do well because the coach knows how to bring the best out of them. Perfect example.
Leicester.
Perfect example, Leicester. Joel is the same way. He doesn't want to carry people. If you're a singer, if you're a guitar player, if you're a vocal, editor, if you're amazing at your domain, he will acknowledge that and he will respect that. And that's how High Friend came to be. It was a genuine trust to allow me to bring Flipside to that song.
Do you have a favorite song of your own? Something that you've produced or been involved with that if you could only show one person a song of what you did, you had that 30 seconds, what song would that be? And you say, yo, that's what represents me.
Right off the top, because I was working on it just now, I would have to say War Cries. It's a new Mike Perry. I'm actually doing a new rap album. The beat off the chain, like it's dark and eerie. It almost sounds like a Wu-Tang Clan. Like I'm taking Mike Perry in a very dark and moody direction because that's where I feel our politics are at this time. So I would say that. But then if I think of house music, lyrically, I would have to say Open Up Your Eyes with Hatiris. Because if you think about the world today and the division and the disrespect towards people of different race, Native people, the pipelines, transgender community, I think Open Up Your Eyes, when you hear the opening line, every day is a similar situation. The stress tries to break me down. And the cloud that is above my head, metaphor for stress or pain, only I can push it around. So you can choose every day, positive or negative. And I think right now, those are the two songs that pop up into my dome.
Now, we last caught up about a month ago, a little less than that, down in Mexico for BPM 2017. Overall, my first time there, amazing experience, great people. The people that were, working and trying to make the events happen were just absolutely awesome, on tap, right? And then we come up to the end of this event. I got on the plane, jumped home on the final day, and then woke up to a dozen text messages asking people, am I okay? Am I safe? And that there was a shooting that happened at Blue Parrot. Now, you were still in Mexico when that happened. How has this impacted you? And have you come across any other experiences along this line? Because I know for me, for at least a day or two, I just could not focus on anything. And I was busy trying to find out, make sure all my friends were safe. I had friends that were involved that had literally left the hour before. I had friends that were in the club at the time. Literally, my partner and I, the last videos and photos we took were right where it happened. So it sort of connected a little closer to me here. How did it impact you and the crew that you had, being you were still in the area at the time?
Yeah, that was a very tragic situation. But what I want to make clear is before that happened, my BPM experience, which was my first one, ironically, as a DJ at Tribeca with the 4x2, thank you, Addie, playing back-to-back. Well, I was supposed to play back-to-back with Ms. Megs, but I ended up playing solo before Joel Smythe, and it was a lot of fun. It was completely sold out. Thank you to everybody who came out, if you're listening, and thank you to the people at Tribeca. But that night for the closing party, I was at home, and believe it or not, my stomach started hurting me. First time that week. I was fine every day, eating the best food I've had in a gazillion years. So I'm at home, and I'm like, you know what? I don't have to be up till 2 in the afternoon to catch my ride to the airport. I think I'm going to go check out Technasia for the last couple hours of the party, and maybe Paco Osuna if I don't get tired. So I'm getting freshened up, and I'm in the bathroom dealing with stomach pains that are finally subsiding. And my phone rings as I'm getting ready. And it was my friend Mikey, who will always be thankful. It's funny how sometimes the most unlikely angels pop up. Like, I know him, we're cool, we're homies, but we're not like super, 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 super tight. And this is where you see the quality of a human being. And he goes, hey man, you need to listen to me. Things are going down. You need to get a hold of Ms. Megs and all your crew, and you need to get them back to your condo, and you need to lock up and stay put. Now I'm like going, what the F is this guy talking about? So he's like, listen to me. I just left La Santanera. People are running in the streets. Somebody got shot. I'll let you know who it is. I'm staying put. And then he goes, I think Kirk, one of the bouncers, got shot. I want to send my sincerest condolences to the Wilson family. And I hope that his wife and children can find peace, and that I hope all the money we've donated and everything we're trying to do through fundraisers and whatnot helps at least bandage some of the pain and help them smile somewhat in these times. Now, I want people to know that BPM, until that tragic event, was incredible. From the organization to the people, the culture, Fifth Avenue, when you land, the cleanliness of the airport, the staff, the courtesy, the restaurants, the way they treat you, the people in the streets, you're not being harassed. You know, people say it's unsafe. Well, don't be a donkey. Stick to your area. You know, take cabs home. Be blunt. Be polite. And don't venture off late at night to places that aren't near your hotel. And stick to your venues where there's security everywhere, or hotels. Now, did this happen? Is it sad? Of course. But it was over drugs and over things that had nothing to do with patrons and, the people that were attending. That is a separate matter. Crime happens. People get shot all the time, even here in Toronto. So you can't just take that out, okay? Now, when he called me, it was scary because you get shocked. So finally I got a hold of Megan, who was in the jungle, which was about 20 minutes from the core of Playa, at the festival, which is kind of like, in Ottawa, the Escapade or Digital Dreams or Veld. So you're in this big land plot, and you're there on this land, and you're enjoying yourself 20 minutes away. So she found out through Doc Martin, a legendary LA DJ, that she needs to get into a cab and leave before it was announced, before there was chaos. So she jumped in the cab, got back. We were all kind of confused. We all felt sick in our stomach. The next day, we were worried when we got to the airport. I did not end up going to Blue Parrot, but they didn't end up going, but they were very close to going. And for about a week, I was foggy and confused and didn't feel like talking to people, because you were basically in shock. Because friends of mine, I knew Kirk Wilson, not well, but I knew him through the times I've said hi to him at Inc. events. He was one of their main guys. And also my friend Leo was there, and his buddy Mario that I've met got shot in the arm. So of course you're going to feel confused and sad and depressed and horrified, because we are a community of love, the electronic music community. We are a community of embrace, of welcoming and acceptance and understanding and compassion. That is what ties us together, whether we're into dubstep, trance, progressive house, techno, EDM, commercial dance. We understand that our music is an outlet to be positive and be happy and to enjoy ourselves. And it was really sad to see this event in what is otherwise a brilliant festival.
As you said, it is a one-off, something that's not commonplace or common folk around things, and we are dealing with challenges all across the world when it comes to any type of violence. I remember I was talking to my father, and he said, I heard about something happening down in Mexico, and this was before Blue Parrot, and he was a little concerned. And then he realized there were 2 people shot and killed just down the street from my place here in Ottawa. So Mexico is actually safer at this time. So it's just the way things work. But let's move on the other direction, because there are so many positive experiences and fun and crazy experiences that you get meeting people or so on. Can you give me an example of something that's maybe funny or extremely positive or weird or wacky or whatever on the other angle of the spectrum that you've been directly involved with?
Okay. One night that pops into my head is, for those of you familiar with UFC, former champion Rashad Evans. It was funny, in 2009, I was out with my friend Kezi, Miss Kitty, DJ Miss Kitty, and she had met Rashad Evans DJing at a gig, and Rashad Evans at the time was training with Georges St-Pierre, and he really liked Kezi. He thought she was good looking, and then he was like, I want to hang out with you tonight. And she's like, that's not my vibe. I'm going out with my buddy Flipside. He's like, Flipside? I got to meet this dude. And she's like, yeah, we're going to go to a club and it's house music. And he's like, well, I'm from Chicago, from the Midwest. So like, I can, F's with that. So he hollers at her, and then she's like, yeah, you might not believe it, but like Rashad Evans and I are going to pick you up, and like, or I'll pick you up first and then we'll go out with him and we're going to hang with him. Right. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. So she picks me up, and I've met a lot of celebrities, whether it's Run DMC or Tommy Lee, Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction, and he was super cool, and Kool Herc, who founded hip hop, and Africa Bambaataa, and many others. Mos Def, I've hung out with him. He's super cool. Nelly Furtado's super cool, and had a lot of conversations there about electronic music. So anyways, we pick up Rashad, and he's a gentleman. We have a great time with him. He's all about house music. And then I go to Tattoo Studios off of Eastern, and we hang out, and he's like, can I come to the studio? And I'll never forget walking in, and my cousin, Roberto, was living in Toronto at the time. He's now living in Calgary, and he's a DJ out there. So he's like, yo, I want to come meet you guys at Tattoo, because it was kind of like where we would go an after party. And honestly, Alanis Morissette used to live there upstairs in the loft part of the studio for about 6 months when she did Jagged Little Pill, just so that you guys know. Kind of funny, huh? So we're there, and I walk in as we arrive, and Tommy, the proprietor, who's now a motivational speaker, and he still does music for commercials. He used to own Tattoo. He's now in Amsterdam. He greets me at the door, so I walk in. Kezi walks in. Oh, hi, Nat. Oh, hi, Kezi. And he's a huge UFC guy. And then he goes, oh, hey, Rashad. He didn't clue in. And then he stops as Rashad walks by, and he goes, holy fuck, it's Rashad Evans. And I'll never forget the look on his face, because he's such a UFC head. And he's like, he looks at me and he goes, scratches his head, because he's a very analytical guy. He's super intelligent. He has his master's in finance. He used to be like one of the main guys at RBC. So you can imagine, because he's an analytical thinker, he just looked at him and goes, oh, hey, Rashad. He didn't even think about it, and then it clued in, but that pause, And then Rashad just burst out laughing so hard, and he stuck it out with us, dancing and talking about house music till like 8 in the morning, completely sober, telling us stories about GSP and how they train. He said that he's never met somebody stronger, pound per pound, than GSP. He said that it's scary how he can toss Rashad around. And if you know, Rashad is like very strong upper body, like huge chest, big arms, super nice. And then we sparred with him, believe it or not. It was like really fun. That's one of like, I mean, he kicked our ass, like one chokehold. I mean, it was crazy. But believe it or not, he taught us some cool shit. But he was a super cool dude. And to me, that sticks out because it didn't have anything to do with music, but it was a really good time. And I think other than that, another fun time popping into my head was meeting Sir Mix-a-Lot, who made Baby Got Back at a big rave in North Carolina when I was touring with Freaky Flow. And he did it for me in the hotel lobby, and everybody started singing along. That was pretty funny.
Nice. So Toronto, obviously, we'll fire in a question or two more before we wrap things up.
Okay.
Toronto obviously has been a huge, important thing to you. How important is Toronto into who you are? Because it's home, and I can sort of tell that a lot of what makes you who you are is because of the city. Take a look at, for someone like the likes of Russell Peters, right? Like, you can tell, even though at this point he lives in LA, and he's a world famous and was probably the biggest comedian forever, it's all still about the city, and it makes so much of a difference to who they am as a personality. How much do you think Toronto has made an impact in who you are?
Wonderful question. Well, number one, my parents are immigrants from Italy. When I was a child, my mom, after she stopped her job, she used to work in the sales and marketing of textiles. She actually dealt with some health problems, and luckily, thank the universe, she's been amazing ever since then. But what she started to do was she started like a daycare, and she did really well with it. And ever since I was a wee child, my mom, as an immigrant, ran a daycare that was multicultural. And I have to be honest, there were some of the Italian kids whose parents were a little bit racist. Not in trying to be mean. Well, you know what? I can't sugarcoat it. They were just racist. They were just, everything. And to me, it is racism. Everything has to be Italian, and you speak Italian at home, and you only eat Italian, and maybe you're lucky if you get McDonald's, but no Chinese food. I know some people might get offended, but my family was not like that. I remember some of the kids, like Erica, who was Trinidadian. I remember there was a British kid, and like we all had to play together and like share food. And I was eating oxtail and curried goat when I was like 7 years old. I didn't think about it. My mom put it in front of me. I thought it tasted good. But think about how important that is when you're a young mind that needs to be molded. The influence of positivity. So the Italian culture, the music, my dad plays guitar, harmonica, plays piano. He's got his master's in engineering. Actually was one of the main Canadian engineers that worked on the Canada arm for NASA, for the space shuttle. And if you look it up, my dad's name is there. He was one of the main engineers picked. So I come from really cool parents. My dad listens to hip hop. He used to drive me to the record store. Sometimes came into the fucking record store with me to buy records. My dad was driving me to gigs up until, even now sometimes I'll pop in, sleep over. He'll drive me to the airport. So the Italian culture, from music to food to the language, parlo italiano, je parle français, hablo un poquito de español, has been very important on me. And the music, Toronto, why it has such a huge role, because Toronto's so multicultural, because we have so many different influences, it's helped shape me musically, which is why I like new wave, industrial. I'm a huge fan of people like Trent Reznor, David Bowie, David Gahan from Depeche Mode, Morrissey. They are like idols of mine, but so are Big Daddy Kane and Chuck D and Mos Def and Talib Kweli, people that I respect, and people like Bob Marley and Capleton and Buju Banton, even though some of them might be doing dancehall, which is deemed misogynistic, you got to understand I like the way they flow. I like the sound of their voice. I'm influenced by all of this music, the ghetto tech and the techno from Detroit, people like Godfather, Disco D, rest in peace, to the New York house of Louis Vega, because Toronto geographically is located a 9-hour drive from Manhattan or an hour flight from New York, a 5-hour drive from Detroit, a 6-hour drive from Montreal, a few hour flight from Chicago, an 8-hour drive to Chicago. We're very lucky that we're influenced by the Francophone culture, the Midwest culture, and the New York culture. So it all ties together, that all of these influence, because of where we're located and because of the multicultural tapestry that and mosaic that is Toronto, of course it's going to influence Flipside.
And my final question for you, who do you see at this point as one of the big and up-and-coming DJs, producers, or someone just involved in the scene? And I would encourage it to be Canadian, but if they're not a Canadian individual, who would you see, he or she?
Okay, on the Canadian front, there are two singers. The first one is named K-Love. I think that she has... I actually manage her, and that's not why I'm saying it. The reason why I'm saying it, and I hope people will believe me instead of shaking their head, is when I met her through Duro the Third, another artist that I respect tremendously, one of the best graffiti and graphic artists and sound engineers in this country. I met this girl. She was drawing. I mean, from drawing anime to painting to photography, I was just speechless. And then she sang for me, and I was just like, wow, I hear the soul of an Alicia Keys with the pain of an Amy Winehouse, with the mystery and the that special magical tone that Lana Del Rey has, all in one. And like, I don't get impressed easily, man. I've been around some serious talent, people that have gone on to like have platinum songs, and I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. And Vanessa Elisa, who is this soulful jazz R&B singer that I've worked with, who just has that Etta James spirituality and that bluesy tone with the power of the Christina Aguilera power vocals. Those are for singers. For MCs, there is a cat that I've been blown away by named El Hawk. He's from Toronto. That guy is the truth. He is the truth. He is probably, if people that are listening know hip hop, he's got that ability to tell a story like a Ghostface Killer. Producer-wise, from Toronto, who's really, really, really caught my attention. For techno, I'm really feeling Sean Collier. He just popped into my head. I hate answering these kind of questions because there's so many people that I respect and I don't want to forget, right? I'd have to say that I think for up-and-coming guys, he's got a great sound. Daniel Dubb has been doing some interesting stuff with Jonathan Rosa. I think that they're on the come-up collectively. I think in terms of like the resurgence of disco house, you'd have to give credit to Space Disco and Hatiris, what he's been doing there on his own, separate from Melvin and Klein. I think that's really cool. Believe it or not, my side project, Revito and Nolan, with Chris Vench, which we have releases on Gene Ferris's label, called Babylon, which got played by Stefano Noferini, which is more of my darker element as Domenico Revito with Vench, because it embodies that underground sound that I love to play when I'm playing at Comfort Zone and at Coda, because I really am a bit of a snob when it comes to that kind of techno. Like Detroit, people like Stacy Pullen really influenced me. But as a producer up and coming out of Toronto, but for house, City Kid Soul are really cool. Then you got Demuir doing a lot of interesting soulful stuff. He's been at it forever, but he's getting the accolades. and he works hard. So, more power to you. And we don't even work together, but his hard work deserves that praise. For Progressive House, I think Simon Doty has been doing some very interesting stuff. So you need to watch out for him. But truly, truly, truly up and coming, I think Giddy's been doing some cool stuff. I think he's got a cool sound. And then John Norman for techno as well. He's doing some cool stuff. And right off, I think that's it for now.
Solid. There's a lot to research there for listeners and myself as well. So I recognize most of the names, but I'm not quite in the Toronto scene as much anymore, being it's a 5-hour drive to get there. So, and I guess as we head off and sign off here, what do you have coming up in 2017? Any tours, any festivals that you can announce that you're playing? Any songs that are on the way out in the next little while?
Okay, well, as you know, I've had recent success with a producer from Amsterdam named Quentin 909, who has been touted by many to be the next major player in the G House / new disco movement. We had a track that cracked the top 30 on TrackSource with support from Eddie Halliwell, Oliver Heldens, as well as Treasure Fingers, and it's called Let Me See Ya. It's available now. Upcoming gigs, festivals. I recently just got booked as Melvin and Klein, my alias with Hatiris, at the MEM Festival in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and that's in August. Upcoming, I've got dates in Edmonton in February at the Y After Hours, as well as Portland, Oregon. I'll be playing in Portland with Roger Sanchez. But confirmed, I've got Portland, Edmonton, as well as releases with Quentin 909, Ravito and Nolan, and remixes on Funkin' Deep, which is a techno label, by Peter Bailey, which are also out now, as well as more Domenico Ravito and Thomas Nolan projects coming out as well. So there's a lot going on my label and upcoming remixes and original productions.
And I just want to thank you so much for the time that you spent today to chat with us. I know we've been trying to do this interview for, well, seems like a couple of years now, on and off, for a handful of things. But again, I want to appreciate all your openness and your willingness to talk about things as you see them, and let others have a deep listen to it. So thank you. And I wish you all the best for the rest of 2017. And I know we're going to be crossing paths many, many more times. Where can people check out your stuff? That's my last question.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the time. I know some of my answers were long-winded, but I think, your questions are deserving of accurate answers. And I'm not really, the generic answers, and I thank you for acknowledging that I got deep with it. I think generic answers are a disservice to the listeners. There's a lot of talented people out there and people that may want to get into the music industry. And I think you're committing a grave disservice when you're not being sincere. I don't like people that phone in answers. I think you got to remember where you come from. Everybody starts off as a dreamer. And you just need to apply and take action to make dreams become a reality. All goals are dreams set into action and with a deadline. So, you know what I mean? You got to stick to that. You can visit me on iamflipside.com. That's www.iamflipside.com. Twitter.com/MCFlipside. Facebook.com/MCFlipside. SoundCloud.com/MCFlipside. And of course, I'm on iTunes, Spotify, Beatport. Look for MC Flipside or just Flipside and I'll appear. As well as my aliases, which are attached, Melvin and Klein and Domenico Ravito.
Thank you, sir.